This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek. Today, we're going to be talking about the struggle in the auto industry, the UAW, and a recent election that was held to change the structure of the union so that the rank and file membership will be able to elect their own national officers, and how that happened and what that can mean for the future of the UAW. And joining us is Scott Houldierson. He's a 551 UAW former vice president, and also Martha Grevatt. She's with Local 869 Warren Stamping Plant. The recent vote on direct election of the national leadership was supported by UAW-D, and Scott Houldierson talked about this group.
UAW-D stands for Unite All Workers for Democracy, caucus within the UAW. But we understand that to beat the bosses, we're going to need to organize not just within the boundaries of our own union, but workers all over the place.
Maybe you can talk about the problems that you had with the old structure and why you made a fight to have direct elections of your national officers.
The old structure resulted in basically a one-party caucus running the union for over 70 years. The administration caucus was founded by Walter Reuther, and he set up a system that was really prohibitive of candidates running against his caucus, running against the power structure that was in place, and it was very effective. Over the course of those 70 years, there were only one or two that actually managed to break through that and get elected to the International Executive Board. And those both had some pretty arduous roads to get there. So, the way that they did it was, by using the convention system, they could promise jobs to local union leaders or promise better negotiating terms and enforcement of the contracts to encourage them to toe the party line, so to speak, to stick with the administration caucus candidates and their programs. And also there was the stick approach where, you would not get, favorable treatment in possibly grievances or product commitments to your local plant.
Martha, do you have anything to add to that?
It's a lack of basic democracy, but a bigger issue is how this delegate system has harmed the membership, harmed the union, and when a union as strong as the UAW sets that kind of example, it has ramifications for the whole labor movement and for the working class, in that the leaders that have used this system to stay in power have not tried to fight and get the members to fight for better terms and conditions. They've been, by and large, in a partnership with the corporations that they negotiate with, so that we have things like two-tier and alternative work schedule, and the union's leaders right now, they're not doing enough to protect our members from COVID. I'm retired, but I get emails every day from my local, not just one now it's like 3 and 4, COVID case. It was more in the interests of the company to keep the plant running and say, oh, the auto industry is essential for the economy, so you're essential workers and you got to work. When we'd have fewer cases now, if they'd kept the plants closed longer, if they kept the plants closed until there was a vaccine and people were vaccinated. They give out masks every day. I guess they sort of have social distancing, but just things like that, agreeing to things that are good for the companies, but not good for the workers. And it's not that, I look at a union as like a lawyer, like they're supposed to get this and get this for us, but they're supposed to engage the rank and file and let us know that we're not going to get anything without a fight, but then they have to be prepared to lead a fight rather than throw in the towel and give the companies what they want. So that's why we really had to get rid of the convention system to try to move our union away from, what's often called business unionism.
Well, it's not just the UAW. Most unions in the United States support a labor management partnership. So this issue is going on. And also the fight against two-tier is not just at UAW. The Kellogg workers are fighting against a two-tier system. So what was your experience in fighting to even get this on the ballot? Because there wasn't a high turnout, I understand, of the vote. Was it well publicized to the members? And also, did these strikes that have gone on, Deere, at some of these other plants, Volvo, did that have an effect on workers thinking maybe we have to change the structure of the union, Scott?
Well, yeah, those struggles definitely displayed what Martha was talking about. That the unions brought, or the union, both of those local unions, 2069 at Volvo, and all the locals in the Deere system, the negotiators brought back a contract that the workers were not going to take. They were not going to accept, and in both cases, they voted the contract down by 90%. That's just unfathomable to think about, that the union would bring a contract to the workers that would be rejected so badly. And part of the reason for that is a lack of communication during negotiations, prior to negotiations, and lack of transparency. We've had a lack of transparency that led to the corruption scandal, and a lack of transparency that has led to these massive vote no results from contracts that they thought were going to be good enough for the workers to ratify. And that's the problem. They negotiate contracts hoping to get them to be just good enough for the workers to ratify. And that's also part of the problem. But I would say transparency and communication are big problems when it comes to negotiating contracts.
The UAW in the 30s and 40s was able to organize despite a corporate dictatorship of these big multinationals and physical attacks on UAW organizers. And they had flying pickets organized by the UAW to shut down plants. As far as organizing, I mean, I think that the mass organizing of the 30s, do you think that kind of organizing and communication is needed today with companies like Amazon, these big non-union companies?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because it's kind of a favorite subject of mine. I actually was at one time trying to write a book about the Flint sit-down strike, and I got to interview some of the living, since passed on, workers who were in the sit-down, and it was a real exciting experience, and the research, and just being in the Ruther Library and looking at the strike bulletins from that time, and there's different parallels, and they said they had this great new technology weapon in the Flint sit-down strike, and back then the new technology was the sound car, and they'd ride around, the organizers, and they'd talk on the bullhorn, and they'd get the message out to the community, and they'd talk, when they'd be all amassed at the gate supporting the sit-downers that were inside the plant. And so like mass organizing, definitely, things are different now. We've got new technology. We've got, we really use social media a lot to build this campaign for one member, one vote. So we look at all the different tools that we have to try to build a campaign, and hopefully, this campaign where we won one member, one vote, we're by no means saying our work is finished, we won, okay. no, there's lots more to do, and it's engaging and uniting and giving voice to the rank and file against these companies. And as far as Amazon, 1937 GM, 2021 Amazon. Alfred P. Sloan, 1937, president of GM, world's richest man today, Jeff Bezos. They've got the same exploitive, brutal, corporate bully mentality. They want to get as much as they can, no matter how much the workers hurt. And GM wasn't gonna change without a union. Amazon will not change without a union. And our fighting the UAW, hopefully, it won't do a whole lot to unionize Amazon, but every advance towards social justice unionism is going to help the Amazon workers.
Well, one of the things that happened in the 30s and 40s was you had a mass mobilization of not just the community, but unemployed workers who were organized to surround plants, to back the workers up. So there was a mass mobilization that basically shut down the plant. And probably that kind of mass mobilization is needed today when Amazon workers decide they want a union at a plant. If 10,000 workers surrounded an Amazon warehouse, that would be tremendous pressure for Bezos to accept a union. And also on January 12th, there's going to be an international day on Jeff Bezos' birthday. So there are going to be actions all over the world and in the United States to support the Amazon workers and support unionization. Now, how was social media used? I mean, what was your experience using that to get the word out to the membership, since I understand the leadership really didn't push to get full participation as far as voting?
Well, social media has been utilized widely since the, even during contract negotiations, prior to any of this corruption scandal breaking out. We use social media to discuss what we wanted to see in the contract, and then once the contract came out, to pick it apart and find the weaknesses in it and show them the light of day, be the communication mechanism that I was talking about that we so sorely need from the leadership of the union. So that was the power of social media, is being able to get raise awareness of the workers. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, there aren't a majority of the working class that is paying attention on those social media platforms. And that's why you get, you might have 20,000 UAW members on a particular Facebook group, but we have over a million, 400,000 active and about 600,000 retired members that were able to vote in this referendum. And, they're having 20,000 on a Facebook group doesn't even put a dent in that. So, the outreach was, we had an effective Facebook and Twitter and social media, other social media platforms system, but we also needed to flyer at the plant gates. We sent postcards out to as many as we could afford to send postcards out to. We had a email campaign to a global email list that we were able to tag into. So those were all part of the process. Social media just doesn't have the reach to the working class right now that makes it completely effective. That you have to have other means of reaching out to your members.
And I know during previous UAW conventions, Scott, you videotaped some of the events you're speaking and others, and put that out to the membership so they could see what was going on at the convention. Are you planning, as part of what you're going to be running on, if you run in others, that these conventions be broadcast live so the members can actually see what's going on, the debates and struggles at a convention on the different issues?
Yeah, we're definitely for that. And we, we'll, if the top leadership isn't going to keep the members informed, give up to the minute not just highlights of the guest speakers, but like what were the debates and what was the one side and what was the other side and what are they planning to do? And absolutely. And I think the transcript should be available to any member that wants it. I mean, I was a delegate, and I still haven't gotten a transcript of the bargaining convention. That's usually a year later from the Constitutional Convention. Why isn't that mailed to me as a delegate? We want real transparency and openness, because when the members think that the convention is something separate from their reality, or something secret, or like there's something they're not telling us, or whether it's true or not, when you feel those suspicions, you just drive a wedge between the leaders and the rank and file, and that doesn't help anybody. And I also, it's kind of back to the previous subject of the 30s, but just want to just say, like, the Toledo Autolite strike, that's a real example of how the unemployed league was in solidarity with the strike and kept the pickets going when there was an injunction against the union, and was really instrumental in winning that strike. And like, if we can change the direction in our union, instead of our dues being, used for all these lavish trips and golf clubs and this and that, we can use part of our dues that's set aside for organizing. We can start organizing the unemployed the way the unemployed were organized in the 1930s. We can, it's an important thing, is a real, what are our priorities now? Is it just to try to get a bunch of liberal Democrats elected to office, or is it to build working class solidarity?
And one of the issues now is the fact that workers in the United States, they want them to compete against workers in China, workers in Mexico, to have them fighting each other. And there was a big strike at Matamoros in Mexico of parts plant workers, that they were fighting for better wages, a living wage, and there was no publicity, I understand, to UAW members here. If they had taken action not to accept parts from the Matamoros workers or show solidarity, or the GM workers of Silao who are trying to organize, how do you see building internationalism? Because these are multinational companies, and as it happened in the when you go on strike at a company like Caterpillar, they'll try to shift production to another country in order to weaken the workers here. Scott?
Well, I think you just laid out the entire problem there. Is these companies see no national borders. They don't recognize national borders. They go wherever they can get cheap labor, and where they can exploit the working class, and not only their wages, but also their environment, their living conditions. If we want to be able to take on these global corporations in an effective manner, we're going to have to unite with workers that are in other countries and speak other languages. We're going to have to find our common ground and work together to build a world where workers can make a living, support their family, and enjoy other things in life besides just committing your life to the company to make profits for somebody thousands of miles away. So yeah, that's going to be a critical part of rebuilding, is building those bonds that have been destroyed by nationalism approach that many of our unions have taken.
Yeah, this national chauvinism, buy America, America first, it's just the most destructive thing to the kind of solidarity we need. And we don't even hardly get informed by our leaders about these struggles in Mexico. And then we get even less information about a struggle in Brazil or Germany or somewhere where workers are fighting layoffs, they're fighting plant closings, they're fighting for a standard of living, and why? And I had And I had a funny experience at the last convention. They had this resolution. They had actually gotten away from some of this chauvinism, which was good. And they had this resolution, oh, let's start the Buy America Made again. Let's start it back up. And I planned to speak against it, but I didn't get called on because they had all these balloons for Gary Jones, who's now about to go to jail for corruption. They couldn't see my hand because of the balloons. So I was unfortunately not able to argue why we shouldn't support this chauvinism. And there's another example. There was a horrible situation at Daewoo plant in Korea with sexual harassment. And the UAW organized a demonstration in solidarity, which was good. But then at it was at Hyundai in Korea, Korean company. But at Daewoo, which is owned by General Motors, they had the exact same problem, but no demonstration. So what? So like it's okay for GM, it's just not okay for Hyundai. It's not okay for anybody. I had all kinds of sexual harassment, my first decade in the plant as a tradeswoman. And it's a horrible thing no matter who the company is.
And the UAW conventions, and I've attended one. I was one in San Diego where they supported Bill Clinton, even when he told them he was supporting NAFTA. They gave him a big hand and gave him money. So, but one of the things at these conventions, they invite the auto companies to come. It doesn't seem that they're interested in inviting Korean auto workers or Brazilian auto workers to come to these conventions. I mean, joint worker to worker solidarity, because you're fighting internationally the same companies. How do you see organizing internationally to link up all auto workers so that they can fight together and not be pitted against each other?
Yeah, there has been a minor shift in our conventions lately, because we have invited some international union leaders. Mancha from Louis Pritz, Mancha from CSP Conlutis was there, and I got a chance to interact with them a little bit. And I didn't see CEOs from the companies there, so there has been a little bit of a shift away from that, but mostly it's window dressing. When they bring up the Buy America program as a resolution at the convention, while other auto company or other union members from other auto companies around the world are sitting in front of you, that just kind of boldly a slap in the face to our union brothers and sisters around the world. So I did also bring up about the boycott Driscoll berries at the convention. I asked them to put it on a resolution and they didn't do it, so I brought it up during one of my floor speeches to protect the workers that are risking their lives to feed us.
And one of the issues right now in the UAW is a strike that's been going on for some time with the Columbia graduate students, and the UAW has been gaining new members, graduate students around the country. What effort is being made to mobilize the UAW as a whole to back these struggles of the graduate students? It seems like all UAW members around the country could be mobilized to make sure that they're able to fight the Columbia, which is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, actually, the trust funds that they have and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they really could. There's a lot that we could do. There could be a phone campaign that you phone the bosses of the university and say you support the striking grad students. There's things you can do on social media. You can have, I think, a Twitter bomb or Twitter blast, whatever it's called. They're grad students. They don't really even make a lot of money as it is, and New York is a very expensive city, so they definitely need financial support. There could be we could be doing gate collections at the plants to support the strikers at Columbia University, and that would start to you know, make a connection between workers that are in the same union, but might not feel they have much else in common. But we're all workers. We're all fighting for what's right. And I would definitely like to see more support from the UAW for the Columbia strike. And just did want to say, for anyone watching who's in Michigan, there's a rally on Friday, tomorrow at 3 o'clock in Battle Creek for the Kellogg strike. And I hope the UAW sends a strong contingent, but I'm going there tomorrow, so I'll see what kind of presence we have.
And lastly, there is nearly a coup in the United States with Trump. There's increasing racist attacks, xenophobia, homophobic attacks on immigrants. You have a growing fascist movement in this country. And you think that the UAW and unions should address that, because it may be that Trump may come to office again with the present situation. And what can unions do to deal with this growing crisis, social crisis, and growth of fascism and right-wingers throughout the United States and also internationally?
I think any chance that racism and other bigotry raises its ugly head, we should nip it in the bud. There've been cases in plants where nooses have been found directed against Black workers, and sometimes, you know, they've reached out to rank and file groups like us or like Auto Worker Caravan, because their own elected officials weren't doing enough. And we've got it in the planks of UAW. We've got a whole section on fighting racism and bigotry. You can't like cave to it and say, well, we can't talk about that because then these backward white workers won't join our organization. We can't take that approach. We've got to, you know, model anti-racist unionism every chance we get. And if we think that we won't be targeted by the fascists, then we need to learn some history and learn about fascism and how much it has always been an enemy of the organized labor as well as oppressed communities.
I think many in organized labor, especially in leadership positions, are just afraid to do anything. You know, that I don't understand why they were trying to repress the movement in certain locations of labor federations to call a general strike to protect the vote in the last election. Yet they in Vermont, I think you're well aware that they you know, tried to intimidate the labor federation that called for a general strike to protect the vote in this country. And the same thing, you know, that's something that a tool that we have that they just seem so timid of. If you're not going to do it to protect democracy in your country, when would you ever have the cause for calling a general strike? It's just mind-boggling.
And you know, our history, the UAW was strong on this issue in a lot of ways. In the 40s, there were all these hate strikes, these backward strikes. They were striking because they didn't want Black workers to get jobs on the assembly line, never mind in skilled trades. And the UAW told they were not authorized strikes. The UAW told the companies, go ahead and fire them. We're not going to defend them. You know, but now we're not seeing that strength anymore.
And there's a political vacuum in this country. And the history of the UAW, there actually was a fight in the early history of the UAW for a labor party. That was a political issue within the UAW. It seems like there's a major political vacuum in this country as far as workers having their own political party. What do you think about the idea of workers having their own working class democratic labor party in this country?
I think that could be a powerful tool to advance our interests.
So what's the next step of your victory? What are your plans to organize? When is the election going to take place for direct elections? When is all this going to happen? And how are you going to be putting together, are you going to be put together a platform, a program, and candidates? How are you planning to get organized for this upcoming change in the structure and election of the national leadership?
The first thing is to figure out exactly how these elections are going to work, because there's various different ways to construct the direct elections, and some are fair and will produce candidates, in contested elections. Others will repress contested elections. So we have to be careful to make sure that we're crafting rules and amendments to the Constitution that allow for a robust democracy. And that's the first order of business. That's the first step. Next, we have to get delegates elected to the Constitutional Convention to protect those wins, because the convention is where the rules of the union are crafted and changed, and they've been solidified over the years. So we're working on a delegate campaign, and at the same time we're seeking candidates that are viable candidates to run in the elections when they do happen. So we don't know when they're going to happen. We know that the rules have to be put into place before the convention, which is in July. So we savored the victory for a couple minutes and then got right back to work organizing again.
Is this going to be a democratic process? I mean, what process is there for a democratic structure where you can have an election where the membership are fully involved and participating?
We're trying to come up with a democratic process, but the fact of the matter is the monitor is going to be the one that makes the final decision on this. We're trying to have input and get input from our members, and using that to try and have influence over the decisions that the monitor makes. But we're hoping that the monitor realizes that in order to truly reform the union, we need processes that empower the membership to make decisions. And we're trying to do that.
Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us on Work Week. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about your organization and this upcoming struggle to have a democratic election of your national leadership?
Well, you can find us on Facebook under Unite All Workers for Democracy. We have a website, UAWD.org. And we're also on Twitter, and that's Unite All Workers for Democracy on Twitter. I'm not sure the handle might be a little shorter than that, but that's our Twitter or our name on Twitter.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And Martha?
Yeah, and we do, if you contact us, we will contact you, and we will help integrate you into our organization and into this fight.
And I hope your rally tomorrow at the Kellogg's plant is successful, and that's something all workers, whatever union, whether you're in a union or not, should be supporting. So good luck on the rally at the Kellogg plant in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Absolutely.
Very
Thanks
good.
for having us,
joining
Steve.
us.